My name is James, and even today, I have never been able to forget what happened. Many years have passed, but whenever I see a picture of a forest at night, my hands begin to tremble uncontrollably. It all started when my 3 friends, Michael, Noah, Ryan, and I went camping in a remote forest during our summer vacation. We all loved adventure, but the local people had strange stories about that forest. They warned us never to stay there after sunset, because according to them, the forest revealed its true face at night. We laughed off their warnings. By evening, we had hiked nearly 5 miles into the forest. The trees were so dense that very little sunlight reached the ground. The birds slowly stopped singing, and an unnatural silence settled over the woods. "Don't you think this place is a little too quiet?" Michael asked softly. Noah laughed. "What? Are you scared?" I didn't answer because I felt the same thing. It seemed as though someone was watching us from deep within the forest. We set up our tents in a small clearing, lit a campfire, cooked dinner, and spent the evening talking and laughing. At around 10 o'clock that night, a dark figure suddenly appeared at the edge of the firelight. All of us jumped to our feet. A few moments later, we realized it was only a deer. We sighed with relief. The strange part was that the deer simply stood there, staring at us as if it were trying to warn us. Then it quietly disappeared into the thick trees. As the night grew darker, the atmosphere became heavier. Around midnight, I heard the sound of footsteps. Tap, tap, tap. At first, I assumed Ryan had stepped outside, but when I came out of my tent, all 3 of my friends were asleep. Then I heard the footsteps again. This time, they were coming from behind my tent. Nothing there. Only trees and a thick layer of fog. As I turned back toward my tent, I felt someone whisper close to my ear, "Go back." I spun around instantly. No one was there. A wave of icy fear rushed through my body. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. Instead, I climbed back into my tent and tried to sleep. The next morning, we decided to continue deeper into the forest. After walking for a while, we came across an old wooden sign. Most of the writing had faded, but we could still read the warning. Not everyone who enters this forest ever returns. Ryan laughed, kicked the sign, and kept walking. A few minutes later, we realized we were lost. The GPS had stopped working. There was no signal on our phones. Even the compass needle kept spinning in circles. "That's impossible," Noah said nervously. We tried to retrace our steps, but every path somehow led us back to the same warning sign. Now the fear was visible on everyone's face. As evening approached, camp once again. This time, no one laughed. At around 1 o'clock in the morning, we heard the sound of a woman crying somewhere deep in the forest. Her cries were so heartbreaking that they sent chills down our spines. "Someone needs help," Michael said. I immediately grabbed his arm. "No, don't go that way." But Ryan ignored me. He picked up his flashlight and walked toward the sound. The rest of us ran after him. About 5 minutes later, the crying suddenly stopped. The forest became silent once again. "Ryan!" I shouted with all my strength. There was no answer. We swept our flashlights across the darkness. On the ground, only Ryan's flashlight remained. Ryan himself had disappeared. Suddenly, we heard footsteps crunching through the dry leaves behind us. We all turned around at the same time. Standing between the trees was a tall, dark figure. Its face was hidden in the darkness. Only 2 glowing white eyes stared directly at us. It didn't move. It simply watched us. Then, slowly, it raised one hand toward us. At that exact moment, Michael screamed in terror, "Run!" And we ran blindly into the darkness, trying to save our lives, without realizing that the footsteps behind us belonged not to one, but to many. We were running with all our strength. My feet kept hitting the exposed roots of the trees, but I didn't dare stop. Behind me, Michael and Noah were running too, struggling to catch their breath. A few moments later, we stopped behind a massive rock. The forest fell completely silent. The only sound was our heavy breathing. Where did that thing go?" Noah asked between breaths. Instead of answering, I switched off my flashlight. Somehow, staying in the darkness felt safer. Suddenly, knock, knock, knock. The sound of slow footsteps began approaching us. Each step sounded closer than the last. Summoning all my courage, I carefully peeked around the edge of the rock. The same dark figure stood only a few yards away. It was unnaturally tall, and its glowing white eyes shone through the darkness like those of a wild animal. Then it slowly tilted its head at an impossible angle. A horrifying smile spread across its face. It wasn't the smile of a human being. A chill ran through my entire body. At that exact moment, someone screamed my name from another part of the forest. "James!" It was Ryan's voice. "I'm here. Help me." Michael immediately started moving toward the sound, but I grabbed his arm. "Wait, something isn't right." Ryan's voice kept repeating the exact same sentence, over and over, in the exact same tone. "James, help me. James, help me." Noah's eyes widened with fear. "That's not Ryan." We quietly began walking in the opposite direction. But after only a few steps, the same voices echoed from every direction. James, Michael, Noah. The forest seemed to come alive. From behind the trees, from within the thick fog, our names echo. We took off once again. A few minutes later, we came across an old wooden cabin. Its front door was half open. With no other option, we rushed inside. The cabin was filled with dust, broken chairs, and an old wooden table. A rusty lantern hung from one of the walls. I lit it, and a dim light spread across the room. That's when I noticed something written on the wall. In faded red letters, it read, "If it calls your name, don't answer." The three of us looked at each other in horror. Then suddenly, 3 knocks echoed at the front door. Knock, knock, knock. A voice whispered from outside, "James, open the door. It's Ryan." The blood froze in my veins, because I knew it sounded exactly like Ryan. But the shadow beneath the door didn't have 2 legs, it had 4. Michael looked out the window, then immediately stepped back, looked outside too. Dozens of glowing white eyes stared at us from between the trees, silent, motionless, as if they were simply waiting for us to come outside. Without warning, the cabin began to shake. Something incredibly powerful slammed into it from outside. The entire cabin trembled. Then came another impact, then another. The wooden walls creaked and groaned. We knew the front door would break at any moment. At the back of the room, I spotted a small wooden door. We rushed toward it. When I opened it, there was a narrowed tunnel behind it. We crawled inside. Behind us came a deafening crash. Boom! The cabin's front door had been smashed open. The tunnel was completely dark. We moved forward, using only the dim beam of our flashlight. After a while, the tunnel finally ended, and we suddenly emerged at the edge of the forest. In the distance, we saw the flashing lights of police and rescue vehicles. We ran toward them with every ounce of strength we had left. When we finally reached safety, the park rangers told us they had been searching for us all night. I immediately asked about Ryan. Their expressions turned grim. One of them quietly said, "We only found your friend's backpack," but Ryan was never found. 8 years have passed since that night. I have never returned to that forest. But sometimes, just after midnight, I receive a call from an unknown number. I never answer it, because the one time I accidentally did, there was only one voice on the other end. "James, I'm still in the forest. Please, take me home."